Another mixed bag for you today, and hopefully, if I don't get eaten by this dog, I'm going to start off today's video with a long hike. But at the end of this long hike is one of Scotland's hidden secrets. I hope you like it. Realised how bad my hair is. So, travelling probably a good part of 8.5, maybe 9 hours to get to where I'm currently stood to photograph something that I'm super excited about photographing. And I said earlier on that it's probably one of the best kept secrets, certainly for a landscape photographer to photograph here in the Highlands. And it's just over my shoulder. How do I reveal it? How? I don't just want to move out of the way, it'll spoil it. I'll tell you what, take a look at this.
The aptly named house is built aside Loch Glass, an incredibly picturesque area in the Scottish Highlands. This is Colsey House, also known as the Pink House, or at least I think it is. Not only does this house look incredible, it's also steeped in mystery. It is difficult to find credible information online for the property, so the following is what I managed to glean from a couple of locals. Erected in the early 1980s by the previous owners, the Coates family, allegedly it was built without planning permission. Because the owners couldn't obtain permission for the house, it was never finished. Nobody seems to know why or when it was painted pink. It's one of Scotland's best kept secrets, probably because of its geographic location. It's on private land. It's only thanks to Scotland's right to roam laws that enable people like you and me to venture to it. The mystery of this marvellous house, however, doesn't stop there.
Now you've had a good look around the place, I feel I must share with you a secret that this place holds. If you don't want to be disappointed by what you've seen so far, skip on a minute or so.
As much as this house looks incredible from the outside, on closer inspection, the mystery of this house really starts to unfold. The downstairs windows and doors are covered with boards which have been painted to look real. I can only imagine that they were all glazed at some point and were replaced for the aesthetic reasons due to vandalism. The real head scratcher becomes apparent when you look inside the property. It is just an empty shell. There is absolutely nothing behind these four walls. It was never finished. Could this marvel have been created purely for aesthetics? Was it built for filming? But the burning question must be, will it ever be completed?
fabricating a picture here. Apologise in advance for anybody who hates doing stuff like this, but until the next time I arrive here, when hopefully the conditions will be a little bit better, I've just got to do what I can do today. So my first shot, I decided to just fabricate this shot by moving or putting in place this bit of driftwood and using it as foreground interest. And obviously I'm out into the water, shooting up into the Pink House. I think this will work, you know, I really do. I know some people don't like doing stuff like this, but there's nothing wrong with moving a bit of driftwood, is there? Is there? Slightly away from the water's edge and still looking for something to complement the Pink House in the background, obviously. We're looking at the thistles that are here, and they are beautiful, really, really nice. A little bit of a breeze, so there's a little bit of movement there. So I will have to give some consideration to movement, but as foreground interest, typically Scottish, in a typically Scottish environment, so they're going to work. They're definitely going to work. The one thing that I'm really struggling with though is, if you look at the house, the chimney closest to us, so on the right as you guys look now, it's slightly sticking above the mountain in the background, and that's really quite, stuff like that really annoys me. Now I've got down really low. Couple of problems with getting down really low. One, the thistles look bigger than the house, and two, it's still not jutting above the mountain in the background enough. It still looks like a mistake. Raising the camera, I could just barely get it below the horizon, but stuff like that really annoys me. So I think I've probably exhausted this location here. I might try and do the same thing, but a little bit further back, just so I could try and lower that house down in the mountain, or against the mountain in the background. Just in case you didn't know or wanted to understand my workflow when it comes to something like this, basically all I'm doing now is just wandering around looking for something in the foreground that I think might complement the background, obviously being the Pink House. Looking for leading lines, so points of interest, which is like the thistle bushes earlier on. And sometimes, you know, even when I'm wandering around, I can see that they might not work as well as I'd anticipated, or if I set up in a certain way, I don't like something, but me being me, I still have to take the picture anyway. This was quite a nice composition. I'm just using the edge of the loch here. There's a bit that juts out on the right hand side, so basic composition, building top left hand side, and the jutting out rocks in the loch on the bottom right hand side. They complement each other really quite nice. I grabbed a shot focusing on both of the subjects, and I then dropped my 10 stop filter onto the front of the lens, just so that I can take a 2-minute exposure, therefore turning this loch into an ice skating rink. I do like doing that. If you guys have followed me for a while now, I'm sure you understand that that's what I prefer to do. The slight drawback from here is the house is very square on. It's not very three-dimensional. It could just be a cardboard cutout that's stuck there, and that's a little bit off-putting, but yeah, I still think it works. I think this will still work quite well. Now, I don't want to be that photographer that says, if only, if only, if only. But right now I am, I'm guessing. So that's a bit of a pointless thing to say. Right, I only had one shot at the Pink House, but can you imagine if you could come here when, let's say, on a calmer day when there's a reflection in the water, how awesome would that be? Can you imagine if there was a bit of mist on the water? Can you imagine on a day where there's snow on the ground or frost on the ground? Can you imagine a day when the sky's nice? Can you imagine, because we're in a dark part of Scotland, can you imagine what this place would look like, or what that image would look like as foreground interest with the Milky Way in the sky, or if you're lucky enough to catch an aurora? Oh, so as much as I didn't want to be that photographer that says shoulda, woulda, coulda, I am saying it.